Artificial intelligence is here to stay. In fact, it's growing in popularity, and some people are very worried, whereas some people are jubilant about it. And it's very interesting to actually approach another video creator who shares a little bit of the same philosophies when it comes to artificial intelligence and the impact that it has on self-publishing. So that's why I brought in guest Paul Marles. He's actually grown a huge YouTube following for the past few years. In fact, he way surpassed my following a long time ago, and it's super impressive actually when you go and explore his channel, because he does dive deep into the world of low content book publishing on Amazon KDP, as well as using different AI tools to really grow his business. So let's go ahead and jump into the interview with Paul Marles. Paul, it has been a long time coming that you and I finally got connected, because our channels literally cross-pollinate on a regular basis. What the heck took us so long?
I have no idea. I know it's surprising. And considering that I kind of started my whole business on the basis of watching yours and Kelly's videos way back in sort of 2018. Yeah, it's amazing. Don't know. Maybe I'm a bit of a recluse.
Whatever you've been doing has been absolutely magnificent, not only from the standpoint of doing low content book publishing, but also having a channel devoted strictly to self-publishing. What led you to starting your own YouTube channel, and how the heck did you explode almost overnight, it seemed?
Okay, I mean, I started, it was about 2009, and I was watching videos by Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure a lot of people by now know him. And I just really wanted to start a YouTube channel, but could never think of something that I could talk about, that would resonate with people. And so I started my channel, and probably if you look back, I did a video every now and then it was just something clicked. I'd been publishing low content books on Amazon for a while, and I thought, hang on, I could talk about this. I'm sure there's people that must be interested in it. And I think the reason it took off was because I know you and Kelly were started talking about it way back in 2018, but there wasn't much on YouTube then. There was a couple of others, Stacking Profits. So yeah, I don't know why it took off, but I just started talking about it, and videos seemed to get views. I did hammer it, quite a lot at the beginning. My aim was, when I first started, to do a video a day, and then that was a bit hard to do. So they went on to 3 videos a week, which I managed to keep going for doing that sort of for a year, just over a year, and then sort of cut back a bit. So I think it was just that I'm going to hammer this and grind away at it. And yeah, luckily things took off, but I don't think there's any secret formula. I think it was just I bombarded the system with so many videos that it got traction.
That's cool. So anybody that's not familiar with you, I've already kind of filled them in here in the intro. So I figure maybe let's talk a little bit about your business of self-publishing. What does that business look like for you? Is it strictly all low content books, or are you starting to diversify that now?
It's all completely low content. Or is there now, there's another term, isn't there? There's medium content books as well, which is sort of the colouring books, kids' handwriting books, that thing, which I sort of started to do earlier last year. But it's all low content. I don't do any written books. I did do some written books when I really first started with the KDP. That was back in 2013, end of 2013, early 2014.
Really?
They were just short stories. And that was my first involvement with KDP, and that's where I got into sort of the keyword side of things. And that's why when I first came across this, I thought, hang on, I can create books. I don't have to spend days, weeks writing them. There's no inventory that I have to pay for, because I was also selling used books on Amazon around that 2018 time.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's what, just straight away, as soon as I saw that first video, I thought, this looks superb, going to go into this. But yeah, strictly low content books. I don't do any written books anymore. I'm thinking about doing it now.
So
It's sort of
Yeah,
looking
I was going to
forward.
ask, are you thinking
Yeah.
about doing that and switching over back into fiction and maybe dabbling a little bit more?
Yeah, I think I'd go the non-fiction side. I've got some ideas for the type of books I'd like to write, which wouldn't really resonate with my current YouTube audience, but just something, I'd like to do. I think, it's important to sort of not just pursue things because of a business perspective, but because, for your own reasons. So I don't mind if they took off or not. It's just, I fancy writing some books over the next few years. So I'll give that a go. Um, may make more content for the channel in terms of maybe doing tutorial videos on writing and creating written books. Who knows?
Yeah. Where do you see the business of low content book publishing heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
Um, I think it's going to be pretty similar to what it is now. I know there's a lot of talk about, oh, it's all getting saturated, but the way I look at it is if you say, go to the first page, you do a search for colouring books and you go to that first page. If you look 6 months later, a year later, there's a few books that remain there, but the front page looks completely different, and you'll notice there's lots of books published within a few months, 6 months. So I think Amazon itself doesn't want a page that's just filled with the same books year after year, otherwise it's going to get stale. So I think there's always going to be that turnover of books. Um, I think you're going to have to work harder on things like cover designs to catch people's attentions, because I look at the books now and they've got just superb quality covers, particularly like the colouring books and the kids books and puzzle books. So well, I think that the business will still be there. There's always be a demand for these types of books. Um, I think it's just a case of creating good quality books. I think that's what a lot of people miss out on, that sort of idea. They want to come into it because it's, I can easily create these, which is fair enough. They are relatively easy to create, but you still need to create that quality. And people want to make money fast within a month or two. And I don't think with this or many good businesses online that's possible. You need to really give yourself a year or two to build up, a good amount of books. I mean, if I was starting over, I would probably look at some of the most competitive niches and give myself, say, 2 years with the idea that once a month I will create a book of incredible quality. I'll go more for the marketing side of things and get the books out on various, platforms, Pinterest, that type of thing, and really build up a solid brand like that, rather than the way I started, which was just to create lots and lots of books. But having said that, at that time I didn't know any of the skills. I didn't know how to use Adobe Illustrator, and so I was creating books and learning on the way. And sometimes the only way to learn is by creating the
So
quantity.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true. What would you think right now? What are the hallmarks of a good quality book? What are some of the things that you say these need to be in order for it to actually be something of worth to somebody to buy?
Well, it's got to be it's got to be the usability. Is there a use case? And I think
Okay.
the quality of the cover and interior, particularly, with these really popular niches like colouring books, kids handwriting books, puzzle books, activity books, you need that. You just need the quality of the interior, which is not difficult to do. The covers are more difficult if you're not sort of from an illustration or graphic design background, but you can outsource it. And now, particularly with AI coming along, it's it's a lot easier, I think, to create something of real good quality. And I think that's a secret.
How do you know if it's good quality though? Is there anything that you can go, I know this beyond a shadow of a doubt,
Yeah.
or is it something that we need to reach out to other people, or do you just strictly look at a sales standpoint, like the metrics inside your dashboard?
I think it's where you're at in a publishing journey. If you're just starting out, I think you need to ask other people. What I've found is over the years, I've spent so much time on Amazon, just looking at books, looking at covers from my publishing point of view and also from doing the YouTube channel. And you get to a point where you know something that just stands out and you know the sort of types of covers that are selling out there. Um, so for me, I can just do it from looking at covers, and I can have a good idea of what a good cover should look like. It's a bit like doing YouTube, your thumbnails. Um, but if you're just starting out, I think you either have to ask people or get someone to design the covers for you. But it's just experience. It's like any, I think, it's like reading a book. How do you know it's a good book? Well, if you've read lots of books, you know what makes a good quality book and what makes a poor book. But if you're just starting out, you'd probably get someone to edit the book for you. And I think it's the same with the low content books.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to somebody that's, say, struggling to really break into the self-publishing business? They have a number of publications out, but they are having little to no sales. What advice would you give to them?
Either try and get someone to look at your books and give honest feedback, but learn, immerse yourself. I mean, you've got platforms like Udemy, you've got Skillshare, you've got YouTube, and there's so much information out there where you can learn and just start learning the basics, how to use an image editing software. Choose one, whether it's Affinity Designer, Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and really do a course on that so you know how to create what's in your mind. And do courses on things like graphic design, what makes a good image, you can do a course on Skillshare on book cover design, for instance. But I think learning, if you're just starting from scratch, learning, but create, you can still publish. Don't expect you're going to sell a lot straight away, but learn. That's the way I approached it. I just dove into Adobe Illustrator at the time, and really got to grips with that. Yeah.
Very complex program. I give you kudos. You must have definitely studied a lot. And I know anytime you're doing your tutorials, you seem so smooth with using it.
It is complex, but the number of tools you actually need to use within it are very few. And what you do is as you're starting out, what you're going to create is going to be pretty basic. But as you think, I want to create this type of image, you go onto YouTube, do a search, learn how to do that, and suddenly within 6 months you find that you know your way around the piece of software quite well. You know all the different techniques for masking and doing all sorts of things, and you suddenly realise, actually, I know how to use this and can create pretty much what I want to create.
Gotcha. So you tapped into something, and I know this is a hot topic, and there are people that lie on either side of the fence, and that is artificial intelligence. And I know you've embraced artificial intelligence, and especially in crafting and creating great high quality, low content books. So what is your stance on AI? Are you pro AI, or are you kind of like me, where you're a little bit on the fence? Some looks good, some looks bad. How do you feel about artificial intelligence and the direction it's taking this business?
Yeah, I'm very much pro. I love it. I love what you can create and what other people can create. I'm just looking at the work people are producing now, and I just think it looks fantastic. I know there's the artists, the purists out there who really hate it and obviously feel threatened by it. You can create good quality images, but it's there, it's out there, it's not going to stop. I mean, my mother was an artist, and I know she was always complaining that people didn't like her art and, at times weren't buying it. But I think it's there, it's going to happen. And if you don't embrace it, then I think you're going to get left behind. And I think even, people that are out there that call themselves artists and, whether they're painters, graphic designers, whatever, they can still use AI as a tool and really combine that with their art and create fantastic images. But I just think it opens the door for everyone to create really good work. I think it will just raise the bar as time goes on. People can still create rubbish with it. It doesn't mean to say every image is great, but
Yeah, the images with like 10 fingers on one hand.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with written work, because I see people out there, talking about creating a fiction or non-fiction book purely with AI. I
Yeah.
think, to me, that's more of a problem. Um, Now, I'm not sure how.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Why is that?
I don't know, because I sometimes think maybe I should be looking at graphic images the same way. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I'm not as easy with written work, producing a written book purely off AI. I'm sure if it was
Yeah.
non-fiction, you could get the all the good information there. Just doesn't seem right. I'm not sure about fiction. I haven't really looked into fiction, but the idea of
Yeah.
AI creating, all the characters, the plot, I don't know.
It's fairly interesting. So you're it's almost like we are the polar opposites. I like the fact that ChatGPT and any text-based AI programs, I really like it. But I'm kind of on the fence with artistry, which you would think is backwards because I'm an author at heart.
Yeah,
So you'd think I'd be anti text-based AI. But I do understand your reluctance because it comes down to, who gets credit for it, because this is sourced
it
information.
is.
Where's that source from? We don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's correct. And it seems in my mind with written AI work, um, it's less original than images because I
Mm.
sort of understand how the images are formed, and they're formed, they place one pixel and then an algorithm works out what that next pixel should be around it and builds an image like that. A lot of people think that
Yeah.
it's just like a mishmash of three or four images all joined together, but it's not. Whereas with written work, I've, I've used ChatGPT. It seems like there's more scope for plagiarism, and the blocks of text it creates do seem to come from the
So
places.
true.
But I may be completely wrong on that. It may be, I know that it says that it takes one word and then it uses an algorithm to predict what the next word is. Um, I'm
Yeah.
not sure how that can be possible. How can just have one word and then put that in there? I don't know much about how the language models work. Um,
Do you think that AI will ever replace human-based creations? So, meaning, will that ever eclipse what, say, I can do as writing, or what, say, you could do with Adobe Illustrator on your own, creating your own images?
yeah, I think images. Yeah, definitely. I think it's already eclipsing what I could create in, say, Photoshop or
Yeah.
Illustrator. Writing wise, I think possibly non-fiction,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. But fiction, I'm still not sure because it involves sort of a lot of fiction involves also the experience of the human heart and the experience of living. Um, Whether AI will get to that point, I'm sure it will at some point, but I don't know if it will create the sort of quality or meaning that a person can create. Um,
Very interesting. And I know you've done quite a few videos with AI.
mm,
Um, is there any other aspect that you think, what service would you say that you lean on the most? Which ones have you used and you've seen some great results with? And which ones have you used and said, that's no good?
um, well, I started my first when I dipped my first foot in it the first time was with Dali, and I sort of tried to create a few images, and I just didn't like what it created at all. So I didn't touch it until Midjourney came along because I was sort of a bit biased. I thought, oh no, isn't going to be very good. But then I started to see the images from Midjourney, so I thought, okay, I'll experiment with this. And I was just completely blown away by what you could create, and the scope for it. If you're a creator, whether it's books, websites, yeah, just incredible. Um, but now even
Yeah.
that's starting to be improved. I watched a video the other day on a platform called Leonardo.ai, and it was like just took it to another level. The images weren't quite as good as Midjourney, but the potential there was something. It was like a combination of Photoshop and Midjourney, and what you could create was just incredible. Um, So, and the skills are going to be come around creating the prompts, but now you can buy databases of prompts and everything. So I think that'll be less of a barrier. also. That's a secret.
It's fairly interesting to see the prompts becoming such a huge
Yeah,
thing, like people selling packages
yeah,
of prompts because some people don't know what to ask AI.
yeah,
And I've had enough time that I've played with
yeah,
ChatGPT that I start to understand. It's almost like getting a genie from, a genie in a bottle, and you get your three wishes, but you got to be very specific about your
yeah,
wish, and you have to refine that
yeah,
wish before you actually get the wish that isn't going to come back and bite you in the rear end.
yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Hey, man, we've burnt through time like crazy. I feel like we could have probably spent easily 2 hours talking about AI, but I always like to wrap up every one of these podcast interviews with a very important question. I think this one's going to be a good one for you, and it's, what type of advice do you have for aspiring authors and self-publishers out there?
Just get out there and create. Too many people put barriers in there, and it's all, put barriers there that stops them from going out and creating. I think you just got to create, publish, see what the market says, see what the market thinks, have an initial low expectation, but with a belief that you're going to succeed. There's no reason why you shouldn't succeed. If someone else is doing it, then there's no reason why you can't do it as well. But just get rid of those barriers, stop the thinking I'm not good enough, and just create, publish, see what the response is, get on to creating the next product. Yeah, that's my advice, and I think that's the same whether it's books, YouTube, whatever online. It's just that creation. I still fall for it now. I've got this website I'm trying to create, and it's taking me an age because this is not good enough, that's not good enough. What if? Whereas you just got to do it, publish, and then get feedback, and then improve on what you've done.